Imagine this, a predator so elegant it dances in your desires, a force not content with breaking you from the outside, but one that seduces your inner world, gently, silently, with whispers that sound like your own thoughts. This force doesn't knock on your door. It already lives in your house. You feed it with every glance, every click, every fantasy. It smiles when you think you're free. But what if I told you that everything you believe about desire, about pleasure, about love, is a carefully constructed illusion? What if the chains around your neck felt like silk, only because you've never known the weight of freedom? Lust, in its modern form, wears 1,000 disguises. It sells itself as passion, as vitality, as self-expression. But beneath the surface lies its true form, distraction. Distraction from purpose, from peace, from pain, from truth. It is the craving that never ends, the voice that promises fulfillment but delivers a deeper hunger. The great men of history, emperors, artists, saints, did not fall to armies. They fell to their own appetites. And yet you still believe this force is harmless, that it's natural, that indulgence is freedom. But freedom, my friend, is not found in surrender. It is found in mastery. Across time, the wisest minds, from Plato to the Stoics, from Freud to Jung, have warned us. When desire rules, reason kneels. Freud believed our unconscious was driven by repressed urges. But Carl Jung, wiser still, saw lust as a shadow, a force not to be buried, but to be integrated. Individuation, he called it, the process of becoming whole by facing what we fear most. And lust, when left in the dark, becomes our silent puppeteer. In today's hypersexualized world, lust is no longer a temptation, it's an algorithm. Your cravings are cataloged, predicted, and served back to you in seductive packaging. Lust isn't a personal weakness, it's a weapon used against you. You don't chase pleasure, you chase programming, and it's winning. You scroll, you swipe, you search. For what? For wholeness, for meaning. Tell me, have you ever found it? Or has every indulgence left you emptier than before? Modern science confirms what sages have always known. Dopamine, the chemical of reward, is hijacked by compulsive pleasure-seeking. The more you indulge, the more numb you become. What once thrilled you now bores you. You need more and more and more, until you are nothing but a machine of longing, wired to chase what will never satisfy. But pause now. Think of your own life. What have you sacrificed on the altar of lust? What dreams were delayed? What relationships poisoned? What potential buried under layers of regret? The truth is brutal. The more you chase pleasure, the less of yourself remains. Yet there is another way, a hidden path. One that begins not in denial but in awareness. You are not meant to suppress your desires. You are meant to understand them, to sit with them, to ask them what they truly want. Because lust at its core is not about sex. It is about escape. Escape from boredom, from pain, from silence. But what if you chose not to run? What if you faced the fire and found it was light? This is the first step in the journey. Not repression, but transformation. Not fear, but clarity. And once you take it, you will never see the world the same way again. We will descend deeper into the alchemical process of transmutation, where lust is no longer your captor, but your catalyst. But be warned, this path demands sacrifice, not of your body, but of your illusions. Are you ready to discover what happens when the slave becomes the master? What if I told you that lust, when understood correctly, is not your enemy, but your untapped power source? That the same force which destroys when channeled can also create. In ancient alchemy, transmutation was the art of turning base metals into gold. But the true alchemists knew this was a metaphor. The real transformation was internal, turning craving into clarity, compulsion into creation. And it begins with your energy. The vital energy hijacked by lust is not evil. It is sacred. It fuels your creativity, ambition, vitality. In the East, this is known as prana, chi, kundalini. In modern language, your life force. Every indulgence in lustful escapism bleeds that force. But when you stop leaking, something profound happens. You begin to glow. This is the essence of sacred retention, not suppression, but conservation, not repression, but redirection. Think of it. Every time you abstain, you accumulate. You concentrate your power. You become magnetic, grounded, focused. The world's greatest minds knew this. Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, men who understood that discipline isn't death, it's dominion. They didn't starve their desires. They feasted on a higher purpose. Now ask yourself, what could you build if your mind wasn't fogged by lust? What would you create if your energy wasn't scattered across pixels and fantasies? What kind of love could you give? Not from hunger, but from overflow. Because here's the truth most never hear. When lust transforms, it becomes love. Not romantic love, not needy attachment, but love of truth, of self, of purpose. And then, something extraordinary happens. You begin to see people, not as objects, but as souls, not as fantasies, but as mirrors. You desire rightly, you love deeply, you connect authentically. This is not a sterile life. It is the most passionate life possible, because now you are not ruled by desire. You are its ruler. The sages were right. St. Augustine said our hearts are restless until they rest in something higher. That restlessness, the same force that drives us to lust, is not evil. It is holy longing. It is the soul's cry to return to itself. And that, dear seeker, is the secret. To overcome lust is not to become less human. It is to become fully human. A being not divided by craving, but integrated in presence. But there is one final stage, one final truth that will shatter everything you thought you knew. In part 3, we will cross the final threshold, the sacred transmutation of lust into transcendence. Do you dare to see what lies beyond the veil? You believed this was about controlling desire. You were wrong. It is about becoming desireless, not in suppression, but in transcendence. The one who overcomes lust does not reject the world. He walks through it untouched. He is in the world, but not of it. What is lust in its final form? Not pleasure, not craving, but escape. The refusal to be here now. Every fantasy is a flight from presence. Every indulgence is a substitute for stillness. And stillness, make no mistake, is the greatest power a human can possess. The spiritual masters knew this. Rumi, Buddha, Christ. They spoke not of denying the body, but of awakening the soul. They did not preach repression. They embodied awareness. Awareness that transforms fire into light. When you observe lust without feeding it, something remarkable happens. You realize it is not pleasure you sought. It was connection, not sex, but self. And when you stop chasing shadows, you begin to touch the divine. This is not poetry. This is reality. A life beyond craving is a life filled with clarity, joy, wholeness. You become free. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You see, your desires are not enemies. They are messengers. They show you what you fear, what you lack, what you have not yet loved in yourself. And when you embrace even the dark parts of you with light, lust dissolves. You outgrow it, like a snake shedding old skin, and then you arrive, not at some distant enlightenment, but in this moment, here, now still, whole, alive. This is the power of presence. The energy you once poured into lust now radiates as peace, as purpose, as presence. You walk into rooms and shift them, not with charm, but with stillness. You are no longer chasing meaning, you are meaning. But now, I leave you with a final question. If lust is only the symptom, what is the true wound? What is it inside you that still believes you are incomplete? Discuss below. The path begins in your reflection.